The Book of Nahum is one of the 12 minor prophets in the Old Testament, delivering a powerful message about God's judgment and justice. Written approximately in the 7th century BC, Nahum focuses primarily on the city of Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire. This book serves as a prophecy foretelling the fall of Nineveh because of its cruelty, violence, and rebellion against God's people. Nahum's prophecy comes after the events in the book of Jonah, which recounts how Nineveh repented temporarily after Jonah's preaching. However, Nahum reveals that Nineveh returned to its wicked ways, and now God's judgment is certain and irreversible. The opening verses of Nahum portray God as a jealous and avenging God, slow to anger but powerful in his wrath when justice demands it. Nahum 1:2 says, "The Lord is a jealous and avenging God. The Lord takes vengeance and is filled with wrath. The Lord takes vengeance on his foes and vents his wrath against his enemies." This reminds us that God is patient and merciful, but he will not tolerate persistent evil and oppression forever. The prophet describes God's power, using vivid imagery of natural forces. God is compared to a storm, whirlwind, and flood, showing his unstoppable might and control over nature. Nahum 1:2-3 says, "The Lord is slow to anger but great in power. The Lord will not leave the guilty unpunished." This serves as a warning that evil deeds have consequences, and that God as justice will be executed in due time. Nahum then focuses on Nineveh's sins. The city was infamous for its cruelty, violence, and idolatry. It was a place of bloodshed and terror, where innocent people were oppressed and nations were devastated by Assyrian armies. Nahum 2:2 declares, "The Lord will restore the splendor of Jacob like the splendor of Israel, though destroyers have laid them waste and have ruined their vines." This verse points to God's plan to restore his people after the fall of their oppressors. The prophecy vividly describes the coming destruction of Nineveh. Nahum 2 gives a dramatic account of armies invading the city, walls being breached, and the city's wealth plundered. The description of chariots racing and soldiers attacking emphasizes the certainty and completeness of Nineveh's downfall. This destruction was historically fulfilled in 612 BC, when the Medes and Babylonians conquered Nineveh, ending the Assyrian Empire. Nahum's prophecy serves as a message of hope and comfort for Judah and Israel. It reassures God's people that their oppressors will not have the last word. God will bring justice for the victims and punish those who commit evil. This theme is a recurring one in the Bible. While evil may flourish for a time, God's righteous judgment will ultimately prevail. The book also warns against trusting in false security. Nahum 3:16 mocks the Assyrians for their false sense of invincibility, saying, "You put your shameful prostitute's harness on the king's horses. You've fastened a bridle to a willing steed." The proud and powerful empire is compared to a fallen prostitute, symbolizing moral corruption and impending disgrace. Throughout Nahum, the tone is one of divine justice, but it is also a reminder of God's sovereignty and control over history. The fall of Nineveh was not just a political event, it was an act of divine judgment orchestrated by God himself. Nahum 1-7 reassures us, "The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him." This offers comfort to believers facing hardship. Key teachings from the Book of Nahum. God is just and will punish persistent evil. God's power is unstoppable. Like natural forces, Nineveh's cruelty and oppression led to its downfall. God restores his people after judgment on their enemies. False pride and reliance on power lead to disgrace. God is a refuge and protector for those who trust him. Why the Book of Nahum matters today. The Book of Nahum reminds us that God's justice will prevail. Even when evil seems to prosper, it calls us to trust in God as sovereignty and to remember that oppression and cruelty will not go unpunished. Nahum encourages us to place our hope and refuge in God, especially in times of trouble. At the same time, Nahum challenges those who are complacent or proud, warning that no one is beyond God's judgment. The story of Nineveh's rise and fall serves as a sobering lesson about the consequences of turning away from God and oppressing others.